That's a great way to start this episode, Ahmad.
That standard is not really the same compared to Stephen Curry from last year.
LeBron has a history of bringing shitty teams to the playoffs. Would you like to dive into more detail about that?
His whole first 7 years when he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers, he didn't have a legitimate all-star on his roster. People are getting caught up in the hype talking about this year with all the injuries with the Los Angeles Lakers, stuff like that. At the end of the day, I've never seen a player at the age 37 years old, not Kobe Bryant, not Michael Jordan, not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, with the amount of expectations that LeBron James has had this regular season when it comes to like, playing the center position, having to be the focal point of the entire offense. Then people talk about he hasn't been as clutch like he has in the past. Then they talk about defense. It's just like, when you have to do everything on the team scoring-wise, of course, like certain things are going to not be as great as it was with LeBron James in the past. That's just the fact of the matter. So it's just like people are going to talk about like keeping the same energy if the Los Angeles Lakers have a 0.2 chance of reaching the playoffs, the play-in. Not even the playoffs, the play-in. 0.2 chance of reaching the play-in. People are going to talk about like, keeping the same energy with Stephen Curry last year. I would say like LeBron James had years of history to back him being able to take bad teams, not just to the playoffs, but to the Eastern Conference Finals and the finals. So it's just kind of like, I understand why people are saying that with let's keep the same energy with Stephen Curry, who didn't make the playoffs last year. But it's just like, it's really kind of different because LeBron James' entire career, he's been doing this.
Well,
compared
then
to a player that had like one or two seasons that really like, without all-star caliber players that really kind of struggled of getting his team over the hump.
But then the only thing I would say to that is, well, what's the actual question? Because obviously if we're comparing legacies, all right, cool, we can bring up the years and all that. But if we're talking about one of the best players in the game today, that's more recent. If we're talking about, who we have as number one, then I think the energy should be the same. Like if your defense is that we have years of LeBron James doing this, of course, absolutely. That's why he's one of the top 2-3 players of all time. But if we're talking about today in this game, we can't sit here and let anyone on an 11th best team in a conference be, we're just going to let certain things slide. Regardless of who else is on his team, regardless of how the season has gone and all that, 11 seed is an 11 seed. Two games away from a play-in.
That's fine. That's fine. But it's not about letting him slide. It's about just giving certain people the benefit of the doubt when it comes to like, injuries happen. Like Anthony Davis has been out. Like you're not gonna be successful when your two best players have played a combined 21 games. Like your two best players on your rosters could play a combined 21 games together. That's a formula for disaster right then and there. And to be honest, if you want to really get real about it, like Anthony Davis and LeBron James owe Russell Westbrook an apology because the Laker fan base has been constantly on Russell Westbrook, but you know what? Russell Westbrook has actually showed up. He may not have played well this entire regular season and stuff like that. He's probably had some moments where like, it's been like kind of, Russ, what are you really doing? But at the end of the day, availability matters the most. He has showed up. He got sold a dream of, come compete with a championship. His two best players on his team, this is his first year of Russell Westbrook being a third option. That plays a lot to do with like certain things as well. But his two best players on the team was not around for most of the entire year. Russell Westbrook was. So it's just kind of like, I feel like if anybody should feel a certain way, it's Russell Westbrook. Before it's like the LeBron-ness and kind of giving him like the benefit of the doubt. The man's 37 years old. Like last time I checked, when I saw Kobe Bryant play in his latter years, I saw Michael Jordan playing in his latter years. They were just playing just to basically play. LeBron James still being at this high level and trying to like will his team to make it to the finish line and get into the playoffs. It's kind of like, that you got to give credit to that because his contemporaries haven't done that in the past. So
I hear you.
It is what it is.
I hear you, and I agree. But this goes to like our previous conversation we've had about age and overall changing the conversation based off the debate. And like, I don't think that we can sit here and say in the beginning of the season LeBron James is the greatest player in the world, but then use a narrative 8 months later or whatever. Well, he's 37 years old. It's either we view him as a great.
Who started that though?
What you mean?
He came into the league. Everybody knew the best player in the world was Kevin Durant when he came into this regular season.
But there, okay. Well, first of all, there is still some debate to be had that could have been LeBron James. I'm just saying, we in my opinion, I don't think it's accurate enough to say like, okay, I think he's the best player in the world in October, and then April rolls around, then we want to use the excuse of, well, he is 37 after all. It's very, like I said, it's very similar to the thing with Luka. Well, Luka, he's one of the best players in the world. But when he folds, or if he does, we're gonna say, well, he's young. You don't get best of both.
That's fine. Let's put it like this. It's been best players in the world in the prime that's missed the playoffs. So it's just like, what are we gonna say to that? Like, Kobe Bryant was the best player in the world during the time, and he missed the playoffs. I can't look at like Kobe Bryant being the best player in the world and doing everything for some of those teams and really be mad at Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant showed up. LeBron James didn't show up when it comes to like playing with Russell Westbrook. And when I said they owe Russell Westbrook an apology because of like, he got sold of being on a championship caliber team and they got hurt along the way. But injuries happen. Before LeBron James play, the brother has showed up. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's two parts. So that's what I'm saying. Stephen Curry, he showed up. Like, his team didn't necessarily show up. The only reason why I was kind of on Stephen Curry for the past those years where he didn't really make the playoffs, because it was the first time ever where we really got to see Stephen Curry that people love to talk about. Like, Stephen Curry has been blessed with a lot of great situations. Let's see him in an uncomfortable situation and see what he can do, like a Damian Lillard, like a Allen Iverson. And let's have that dialogue. Let's have that conversation. But other than that, when we talk about playing wise, Stephen Curry showed up just like LeBron James has showed up when he stepped on the court. So that's how I look at it.
Right. And that's been the only unfortunate part, is when he stepped on the court. And obviously, of course, injuries and all that are a huge factor, right? It's not like the Lakers have played all 82 games with a healthy roster. And that's what I said. I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying that when we talk about the consistency with those types of debates, it's unfortunate. And now again, if you told me that I was going to war with LeBron as my number one option in a 7-game series, I don't care who the opponent is, I'm going to have some sort of faith in that matchup. But when we look at standings, when we look at the things the way they are, they might be on the outside looking in, and it's looking more clear than ever that might be the case. And
0.2 chance to reach the playoffs, in this episode.
And then you talk about, too, when we look at the Eastern Conference, the teams that might be in that 7 through 10 spot, it's like, all right, maybe, the Nets are 10, so you kind of give the league. But when you look at the West, it's like, look at the other teams that fall into that.
10, 11 games over 500 and stuff like that.
You know what I mean? We
those teams are bad.
Like, we talking about a team that's 31 and 47.
46.
And again, of course, as of the recording of this episode, but it's just like,
maybe 47.
No, they 31-47 now. I'm talking like I don't know, man. It's 2 games out. What is that? 4 games left.
Basically, the Spurs win 2 games, is over with. The Lakers got to win all 4 games. I don't even think the Lakers can lose a game. So that's what I'm saying. The Lakers are probably cooked. Season's washed. It's clipped. But I will sit up and say, like, the all these media pundits and correspondents coming out talking about this and that, about like, they could have had DeMar DeRozan, they could have had Buddy Hield, they could have had Alex Caruso, but the GM, like they like to say, the GM LeBron, he wanted Russell Westbrook. I'm like, let's really break things down and really talk about it. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Buddy Hield and Alex Caruso with a unhealthy LeBron James and an unhealthy Anthony Davis it's clipped either way. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's certain things that are just clipped either way. So it's just like, I can't sit up and say that, we never saw them fully healthy. So I don't know what they could have been. All we can go on is reality. Like you always talk about this, like all this what if, we don't know what they could have been. And maybe next year if they running back, who knows, we'll get to see if they're fully healthy. But at the end of the day, you're not going to win most games where your second 2 best players have played a combined 21 games. That's just the way it is. So all this like Alex Caruso's, Buddy Hield, and DeMar DeRozan, let's really talk about it. Like, I've been advocating for DeMar DeRozan to go to the Lakers for years. But you know what? It's kind of like when he got really down to it, finances came into the play. And the caps and the salary cap and stuff like that, DeMar DeRozan wasn't signed to a 2-year, $40 million contract, people. Like that's what it is. He wasn't signing that type of deal. Rob Pelinka didn't want to sign him to have a 3-year deal. So even if he was willing to take a discount, Rob Pelinka kind of nixed it already because he didn't want to give a 3rd year on the deal. He wanted to give DeMar DeRozan a 2-year commitment. So that's what I'm saying. Like, let's talk about reality and not what if. The reality is the Lakers are cooked.
Well, to conclude that segment, yes, I agree with that. But I would say too, depending on the report, just overall people's opinion, right? I think fit matters here, right? So if Buddy Hield and Alex Caruso were to play with LeBron versus that being a better fit than Russell Westbrook playing with LeBron. Now, I don't agree, but the idea of Buddy Hield being a three-point threat, right? Like the idea of him being a shooter, the idea of Caruso being a great defender and an overall great role player. I might understand it from that perspective. But to your point, all right, if LeBron is out, I'm taking Russ over that duo, right? Because I'm taking the guy who has proven that he can be a number one option. I'm taking a guy who has proven that he can take a team, right, and win games. I know obviously with Alex Caruso being a champion and knowing what it's like to win, at the same time, right, there's levels, right? And we all know that roles play a huge factor. And, hindsight is always 20/20. You know what I'm saying? It's very easy to say this now. Everyone looks like geniuses when things go wrong. But and I guarantee you they make the plan and they start to play the exact opposite basketball of what we've been seeing. All that noise is going to be clipped. But
it's crazy because everybody knows that the initial fit of Russell Westbrook pairing with LeBron James, Anthony Davis probably wasn't the right, like, you could just, if you watch the game, you kind of know, like, the fit probably is awkward. You know what I'm saying? But to be honest, they didn't even really get to explore that fit because, like I said, Russell Westbrook needs an apology because he got sold something that didn't happen. He didn't imagine he came to the situation thinking, oh, it's a championship caliber team. I got Anthony Davis, LeBron James. We're going to play together. Nobody can say injuries are going to happen. They did though. So it is what it is at the end of the day. But my thing about it, people love to talk about Buddy Hield. They love to talk about Alex Caruso. The main issue is just people tend to forget the offseason of what the Brooklyn Nets, who lost because James Harden was, in my opinion, lost because James Harden was hurt, Kyrie Irving was out and stuff like that. They were cooking the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks went to win a championship and stuff like that. So when you come into a season and you looking at your opposition, you look at which team is a real championship threat if everybody's healthy? The Lakers are looking they got Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. Everybody's looking. We need a big three. You know what I'm saying? We need to go get our big three of our own. And that's probably was some of the idea of LeBron James thinking of let me get Russell Westbrook, regardless of fit, talent, because if we had to play this big three, we need a big three of our own. You know what I'm saying? And that's logical thinking because I would think the same thing. Be do I want to go to war with Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James if everything is healthy, we're right, and we're competing and stuff against a fully stacked big three of the Brooklyn Nets if they then trade James Harden? Or do I want to go to war with Buddy Hield and Alex Caruso? So it's a lot of things that when you talk about things that happen, played a factor into decision making.
And the irony here is that neither of those teams may make the play-in tournament.
So there you go.
The irony in all of this is that the teams that we may have hyped up, the teams that we thought we were talking about a finals run, a finals matchup, they might have the hell with the playoffs. Right. Well,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
They might not make the plan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
that I guess that's what makes the league fun. Is knowing that you don't know. Right? Knowing that anything can really happen and that we got certain teams that's could end up making the finals that a lot of people didn't even really expect. So it gets crazy. But that makes me think, do we owe certain teams their flowers? Should we say congratulations to teams more or just acknowledge when certain teams are playing like cans? Is it that the other teams are playing very well or that certain teams are just playing awful? It's a combination of both.
Yeah. It's a combination of both because people have benefited for certain teams definitely struggling. People have benefited from people have won championships off of certain teams not even being healthy and not even being right. And, going against injury riddled teams.
The subs are crazy.
But I mean that, like you said, it's that's reality sometimes. Sometimes reality helps people. Sometimes it doesn't. We can't play the what if game because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, nobody gonna remember how Giannis Antetokounmpo won his first championship. Nobody gonna remember how Kevin Durant won his first two championships. You're gonna have people that talk about it, but at the end of the day, when they reading down Kevin Durant resume, if it say this, and that, you'll be like, damn, this brother probably gonna finish as a top 5 player of all time. When you reading down Giannis Antetokounmpo resume, and you start reading like, yo, you looking at it now and look at what it can probably possibly be in the future. Damn, this brother probably gonna be a top 10 player of all time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like at the end of the day, none of that really matters. You know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about that real quick though. Who do you think has a better chance of finishing in the top 5 of all time? Giannis or KD?
Kevin Durant. And the reason why it's Kevin Durant, because I feel like Kevin Durant has an opportunity to do something that I feel like Giannis doesn't have the opportunity to do, and that's bring a championship to a organization that's never had a championship. You know what I'm saying? Like the Brooklyn Nets, New Jersey Nets, before they came to Brooklyn, they never won a NBA championship. I think that's special to be a part of something. Also, I feel like from a skill set standpoint as well, when we talk about certain things and we talk about the certain, the most unguardable guys and unguardable players in the history of the game, I think Kevin Durant checks a lot of those boxes as well. Now, of course, you're going to have people that talk about defense and stuff like that. But, if you do the eye test, I can legitimately say that I feel like Kevin Durant is a better perimeter defender than Giannis. But people are going to talk about, Giannis help defense and stuff like that and rim protected. So I feel that, Kevin Durant probably. But, I mean, I don't know. Giannis is going to have to do some crazy things to get top 5. I think top 10 is more, reachable. But I feel like it's also Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant is already a top 10 player all time in my eyes. So he's going to push for top 5. So that makes it a little bit more easier.
I'm going to go Giannis. The only reason why I say that is when I think of the potential, right? When I think of age, when I think of where Giannis is right now, and you bring up, Kevin Durant doing something, bring a championship to that franchise. But to me, I think the fact that Giannis was able to win one with a team that drafted him in an organization in the city that no disrespect to Milwaukee, but that people may not be interested in signing with, right? Like Brooklyn is Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Like they're that's in a market where I feel like people will always be attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
You get a chip, especially if we're talking about you're not playing with any other Hall of Famers to get that chip. You know what I'm saying? So think about it, right? There's a strong possibility that Giannis could go out and win a championship this year as well as MVP, right? So if he goes out and wins championship, that'll be 2 chips, 2 finals MVPs. If he goes out and win MVP, that'll be 3 MVPs. 2 chips, 2 finals MVPs, and 3 MVPs at the age of 27. That's starting to get nasty.
Yeah.
Especially if we're talking on the tail end of the guys that might even be competing with him right now.
Yeah.
Right? Not to say that KD or Bron or Stephen are falling off, but those gentlemen are way closer to retirement than Giannis is. You take away those names, and obviously we don't know what Kawhi with his health and stuff like that. It's who's stopping him? And again, I'm a part of my debate is based off potential. That's that again, just when we talk about age, that's a huge factor. But I mean it's there. The trajectory is there.
But it's kind of like if you playing it's crazy because I don't know what game people gonna play with Giannis, and that's what I'm also kind of worried about, because if it's the ring game, he gonna have to get a whole lot of rings. He gonna probably have to get 4 for us to even have that conversation. Probably maybe 3, probably maybe 3 to have that conversation. If you play that game.
Why is that the case? So if KD has 2,
no,
why does Giannis have to get 4 or 5?
I'm saying it depends on when we talk about top 5. It's a reason why people don't want to include Kobe Bryant in their top 5. He got 5 rings. They talk about MVPs. You know what I'm saying? When you start getting to that top 5, I feel rings start to matter to certain people. Like me, I don't view it that way. So I feel it's probably easier for Kevin Durant to get to probably that top 5 because the way I see it, the way I view it, because I don't just look at rings. I look at resume. I'll also look at talent and skill set, and then I combine both. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I feel Kevin Durant's more likely, when I talk about the top 5 greatest players of all time, more likely to get there than Giannis. Now, if Giannis starts developing his skill set and keeps developing, and then he's also winning and getting rings and accolades and stuff like that, it's just then we start having a conversation about it's going to be hard for you to put him out. But when I look at things, I just don't look at just rings only, because the people that look at rings only are the same people that got Bill Russell in their top 5. You know what I'm saying? That's no shade to Bill Russell's a legend and stuff like that. But I don't look at Bill Russell and say that he was a more talented player than this player and that player. But like resume, if you just base the things off a resume, then like, okay, that's why I said Giannis probably got to win like a lot of more rings and stuff like that.
Well, I'm not saying it's just based off resume.
Most people do though. That's what I'm saying. Most people do though.
But again, that's a different conversation. That's why I say it all depends on what the specific question is that we are talking about. Yeah. All right. So if I'm just saying top 5 of all time, generally speaking, top 5 of all time, we are probably fully aware that Allen Iverson is a top 10 talent, right? But most people may not have him in their top 10. That doesn't mean he's a bad ball player. That doesn't mean that he's not like that. But if the conversation is based off a question. So if we're talking about Giannis, right? If the resume is, I think this season is going to be a huge, huge factor, because another thing too that might be added to Giannis' resume is the head-to-head matchup. Now, I don't argue that with the Kevin Durant thing because of how he beat KD in terms of the injuries that the Nets had to face. But if that happens again this year, and they face each other, and both teams are healthy with or without Ben Simmons, that's another thing to consider, right? It's like, okay,
who you beat matters. Like, I'm not going to sit up and
that's what I'm saying, right?
Who you beat definitely matters, and then that's why we start looking at that top 5 about like, Kobe beat a big 3. LeBron James was down 3-1, like comeback, beat the greatest regular season team in history of the game. Michael Jordan was beating like legends and stuff like that, beat the Jazz and Karl Malone and Stockton. Like, who you beat matter. And also like this, I'll tell you this right here. If Giannis wants to really like, all those top 5 guys that most guys include in their top 5, they got one thing in common. They all won back-to-back titles within their careers. So it's just like stuff like that matters as well. Can you not just do it like, oh, win here and then like kind of like the Spurs, like, oh, win here and then like that kind of that's also like, yo, when you're top 5, you done did it back to back or something. You done did a three-peat. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but you know things like that matter. Though, on the flip side though, I'm gonna respect the fact of longevity, because reign and longevity are two different things, right? So the Warriors dynasty, right, with KD, they won, but that was a short period of time. Brown with Miami, they won, but that was a short period of time. When you talk about the Spurs and Tim Duncan, that's longevity, right? I'm winning over the course of different decades type shit. So if Giannis does get the alternate, the flip-flop, I'm going to win 1 year and then hit you with 2 more years later, then 2 more years later. That's, what I'm saying?
Maybe, depending on...
As long as the overall number is... I'm just saying. But that's a good point,
fine, but I'm just being real, though. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't really... When I look at it, I'm looking at it 2 ways. I don't look at the top 5 and top 10 all-time rankings like other people, because people just view it based on resume. I look at top 10 all-time lists and top 5 and the top 3. I look at both the talent and skill aspect, and I also look at the resume, because you cannot just base things off a resume, because resume means that you're basing things off of guys who've had better team situations, because you start looking at MVPs and stuff like that. He won this MVP. He won that MVP. Like, then I look at Kobe Bryant, who was the best player in the NBA for a certain amount of years and only got 1 MVP. You know what I'm saying? I look at Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant only got 1 MVP. You know what I'm saying? I look at certain things that are like, regardless of injuries, regardless of team situations, like resume can be like a team-oriented thing. As great as Michael Jordan was, Michael Jordan also like had a run where like, his first years in the NBA, he was going crazy individually, talent, skill set. Then he got a team. Then it was just like he was on the best team in the NBA, and then they dominated. So it just was like he kind of had both. So that's what I'm saying. I just can't look at like it's hard for me, because I look at the top 10 list, the top 5 lists of all time. Like, to be honest, like if you want to be real, if I'm being real with you, you talk about like Kevin Durant, who's closer to be a top 5, player of all time, him or Giannis. To be honest, if I'm just basing things off of like, I'm not doing this, but like just to prove my point, if I'm just basing things off of pure talent and pure skill set, it's not 5 guys in this world that's colder than Kevin Durant in his history of this game.
But that's, if you want to talk about that, we can do that. But that's not
But exactly though. So I can't sit up and say on the flip side that people just base things off of resume only.
But you're saying, okay,
that's the same thing. That's the exact same thing.
You keep saying just. To me, it's not just about the resume. It's more so what's required to get that resume. You don't get rings. You don't have a strong resume with being mid, right? So we can talk skill, we can talk eye test, we can talk talent all day long.
It helps having a great team situation.
You're right, but there's not a single champion alive that's had a bad team. So regardless of that, whether you want to say he's not as talented, cool, whatever. he has rings. Because look, all the other stuff is debatable. Even MVPs, right? Like media decides who win MVPs, right?
Yeah,
Fans at some point decided all-stars.
Media helps with resumes though.
Right.
Do they not?
Right.
Because
resumes, right.
If you look at
not
you
rings.
look at but you look, that's fine. But resume, I said resume. I'm not just talking about rings. I'm talking about resume. Resume is not just only rings. Resume is all-star appearances, all NBA team. They're fixing the all NBA selection right now where Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic can be selected as a forward, and they ain't played forward all year. You see what I'm saying? But that helps build. When you talk about he was a 12-time All NBA player, he was a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Like, and you start looking at certain things. If you watch the game, you talk about the seasons that they won these awards, and you start breaking things down. Like, damn, like that year Giannis won Defensive Player of the Year probably should have been Anthony Davis. Like, if you really talk about like more steals, more blocks, like, you know, better guarding perimeter and stuff like that. But the media looks at analytics and stuff like that, so they gave Giannis the edge. Rudy Gobert. Like, I don't view Rudy Gobert as this all-time great defender. I don't view him as a Scottie Pippen or a Dennis Rodman. No, I do not. But you know what? When it's all said and done, if you base things on resume, it's going to be kids in 2050 that looking at Rudy Gobert like, damn, Rudy Gobert got 6 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He probably was the goddamn greatest defender that the NBA has ever seen. And it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's important to look at all things when we talk about this all-time list, top 5 and top 10. You have to look at all of them. You can't just look at just one part.
But he did his job. And that example of Rudy Gobert, if you want to use as Rudy Gobert as that type of example, is he one of the best defenders in the game? Absolutely. Does that mean he can guard a 1? Hell no. But if you're great at what it is that you do, defending, of course, because you want to bring up names like Scottie. Could Scottie protect the rim the same way Rudy Gobert does? Absolutely not. Does that make Scottie a bad defender? No. Absolutely not. And so I think when we have to look at the big picture, Scottie
can do more. But Scottie can do more things defensively than Rudy Gobert can, and then get Defensive Player of the Year awards. That's what I'm saying.
That's fine. If you want to argue, Kobe Bryant was the best player.
Kobe Bryant was the best player in the world for a certain amount of years. Only got 1 MVP because, like, his team was a 7 seed, but now we look at the Nikola Jokic and he's a 6 or 7 seed and may finish a 6 seed, and he's gonna probably win MVP. That's a problem. So that's what I'm saying. I can't look at top 10. I can't look at just say, we basing everything on resume when a lot of this shit that you basing things on and these guys winning awards really probably shouldn't be winning all the time.
Okay. You keep talking about awards and resumes. Cool. I'm not talking about Scottie. I'm not talking about Rudy Gobert. When we talk about the top 5 and the top 10, the number one thing that matters among all those gentlemen is rings. Okay, there's not a single person in the top. There's not a single person in the top 10 that has less than 2 rings, and the only one is really Hakeem or KD. If you have either of them in your top 10, other than that, everyone has at least 3 rings. So we can talk about the eye test all day long.
That's why people say. That's why people say Kobe Bryant not top 5. So if you're gonna go with that, because they got rings, people say Kobe Bryant not top 5 because he got 1 MVP. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's
keep bringing up MVPs. I am not talking about MVPs. I am talking about rings.
Anything that you can read down a spreadsheet and talk about all their accomplishments. Of course, you're going to include rings first. When you talk about resume, rings, then you talk about MVPs, all NBA teams, Defensive Player of the Year awards. Like, all this shit is still being read down there. So it's like resume. Like, you want to talk about rings? All right, rings. Like I said, if we just talking about rings, then Bill Russell is going to always be the greatest basketball player of all time. So it can't just only be about rings. And I get you talk about everybody in the top 5 got 3 rings or more. It's just like, all right, cool. But it's just like, I can't just view it off of that because, like, talent and skill set matters. What era you played in matters. Who you beat in the finals matters. Like, I can't sit up and say, like, if Kevin Durant don't never win another ring in the rest of his career, like, damn, he beat arguably the GOAT, though. You know, like,
If Kevin Durant doesn't win another ring for the rest of his career and Giannis goes out and wins 2 more, we can bump him ahead of KD. I'm fine with that. People might feel some type of way.
That's not what I was talking about. But, like, even that you may feel that way because if you're basing things on rings, that's fine. And that's cool.
Okay,
if you basing things, that's cool.
Okay, so if that's the case,
cool.
then is there anything right now that you feel that Giannis could do to ultimately boost himself ahead of KD?
Right now, no. Right now, no.
So this argument is there's no point in having this debate.
Right now, right now, no. Kevin Durant's been in the league longer. He's accomplished more. Like, no, it's not nothing right now. No, I don't think right now.
No, I don't mean like tomorrow. I mean like over the course of his career. When I meant today, I apologize. I meant like today. Like, how do you feel moving forward? Like, 20 years from now, right? What happens with Giannis and KD from now in 20 years? Do you think that there's anything that Giannis can do?
I mean, of course. I can say
I don't know. You can't say of course. I don't know anymore.
I can say, of course. I can say that about Luka. Like, we could be talking about in 10 years, Luka maybe. I can say the same thing about Jason Tatum. I don't know. I'm not going to be one of these people that's going to be talking about like, yo, like, oh, like this player won, like their greatness and stuff like that. And then like be uncomfortable with like how people like old heads are uncomfortable with LeBron James knocking at the door saying, Michael Jordan, let me in because I may be the GOAT too. I'm not. If Giannis goes out and keeps dominating and goes on runs, he may not just surpass KD. He could probably surpass everybody. I'm not oblivious to that. So that's what I'm saying. But as of right now, no, not as of right now, no. But in the future, he has the potential to not just be top 5. He could be, or he has a potential probably to be top 5 all time. And then he may even have the potential to get really scary. That's his. So his potential right now, I look at it like this. Resume, he's probably going to have like, especially if he wins this year, he's probably going to, resume-wise, top 10 of all time. But potential-wise, probably top 5 all time. If things get even more scary when we start talking about what I like to talk about, skill set and like, you know, talent, if his skill set keeps continuing to improve where he's hitting step back threes to tie the game like he did over a week ago, you know what I'm saying? Doing stuff like that where he's comfortable, has a confidence to take and make key shots and be clutch, then you're going to have a really even spookier conversation. But as of right now.
What if he, you know, he does all those things but doesn't win? Like what if he gets better but he starts to lose? Does that matter? Does that put him higher up? Does that drop him off? Does that keep him where he is?
No, I feel like, no, to me, no. I would feel like, yo, it was just kind of like you start thinking about, okay, now he has to, like, your part. Now he got to start winning. He got to start getting rings. So I think the best of the best players can do both. They have the talent and the skill set. They also have the resume. That's what I'm saying. Both of those things have always mattered to me, which is why, like, if I actually broke down and wrote down my top 10 list, I'm not just looking at rings. I'm also looking at talent. We know about it.
You don't care about the scoreboard.
I'm looking at talent. I'm looking at skill set. I'm looking at rings.
Scoreboard.
I'm looking at rings. I'm looking at era. I'm looking at who they played against, because I can't sit up and just talk about rings and talk about resume when, like, you know, to be honest, like some of these guys played, and that's when we talk about the top 75 list. Like, who? That's the same thing that some people view, like, when we talk about, like, this all-time list. Because there's guys in there, like, I'll be honest with you. There's guys in there that most people that include in their top 10 and top 12 and top 15 that probably ain't scratching the door in my top 10. So, and that's just me being real with you.
Say that one more time.
It's guys that most people probably include in their top 10 to 15 players that probably not scratching the door on the surface for me on my top 10 list.
I doubt it. I doubt top 10.
Okay.
I think after, like, if I can name my top 15 players, something tells me that your top 10 will all be in my top 15.
Okay.
And even other, I think, like, it gets, the debate opens up once you reach like 50 to 60 and all that stuff. Because to me, if we're talking top 5, top 10, that's where rings really, really start to change things. Because of course, you know, once you reach 50 and 60, not everyone has rings. Not everyone has the crazy accolades.
That's true. That's true. I mean, put it like this. It's guys that probably in most guys' top 5 to 7. This is a better say. Guys that's probably in most top 5 to 7, maybe 3 to 5 or whatever. That's probably closer to my top 10 to 11 to 12 range. I think that's a better statement.
There's only one possible name that I can think of, and that's Bill Russell.
Magic Johnson.
I don't think people have Magic Johnson in their top 3. Wait, hold on.
No.
Do you have Magic Johnson in your top 10?
Yes, but I'm saying it's guys in my top. I'm saying it's guys in my most people's top 5 that's probably closer to top 10. You know what I'm saying? In top 12. Like some people, for me, like Bill Russell is a legend. But I'm gonna leave it at that. Magic Johnson is a legend, and he's in most people's top 5 of all time. Am I correct? He's probably yeah. He's not in my top 5. Like, and it's
but he's in your top 10.
Yeah, he's in my top 10. But I'm saying it's guys that most people consider like top 5, and like even like Kareem. Like, I have to really,
but that's
like,
not that. Oh, hang on.
No. I have to really like, yo, you know, dissect some things when I'm really, and that's why I don't make this list, because I view things differently. Like Kareem was great, but like when people will talk about, get mad at me when I talk about like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, top 3, who no matter how you want to rank it in order, I'm firm on that. People get mad, they talk about Kareem. It's not even a thought in my head. It's not even a thought or even a question. Like, to me, it's not even a question. A guy that can't facilitate the offense or run the show or have a person you got to get the ball to it's like, yo, I can't knock.
So now we're just completely disrespecting an entire position, a person you have to get the ball to. Is that not every big?
No.
Outside of like, okay, Jokic and Embiid and stuff? What?
All I'm saying is like, it's hard for me to put you in my top 3 when you can't even initiate the offense for yourself.
Okay,
compared to a Kobe Bryant, compared to a Michael Jordan, compared to a LeBron James. It's just hard for me.
So you like guards. Nothing wrong with that.
It's not even about like liking guards. I'm liking guys that can like just do more. Like, they just can do more. Like, I think that matters. They can do more. Like, they don't have to have a guy that like, yo, their numbers, their stats doesn't rely on somebody else giving them the ball. That matters to me. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean,
we're not okay. All right. We're not talking about Kareem like he was a lob threat and that he was only good off coming off PNRs and catching lobs. Like, this is the all-time leading scorer. So I don't understand why it's like he quote unquote needed someone. You don't score that many points with needing someone like that. Like,
he needed 2 all-time great point guards. He needed Oscar Robertson and he needed Magic Johnson. He did need them.
Do you think those gentlemen needed him as well?
Yes, they did. I think they needed him as well. But
everyone needs somebody to win and reach that level.
Of course, but it's more easier to win. It's more easier for a point guard or a shooting guard, small forward, to probably go out and win, by themselves than a big man, because they can do more. They don't have to rely on somebody to initiate the offense for them. So that's what I'm saying. Kareem is in most people's top 3. He's not in mine. And even if we talk in top 5, I'll really break things down. And this is just off the top of my head. Like, I never made a top 10 list of all time. Like, I'll really have to dissect it or whatever. But like, I don't know. I don't think he may not even be in my top 5 all time.
So who do you have after the 3? Because I don't think we can just let slide after all the shade that's been thrown. So who do you have after? No, it is. It's not so after shade. Kobe, Mike, and Bron, who do you have after those 3 gentlemen?
I don't know. Maybe Shaq and Larry Bird, probably. Maybe Shaq and maybe Larry Bird and Shaq.
So what's your excuse with Shaq? Because I haven't seen him set up offense. Not one time in my life.
It's no excuse. Shaq was just so damn dominant and unstoppable that like it just didn't matter. Like, he was literally unstoppable. Like, the most dominant player of all time. Like, I really have a hard time leaving Shaq out of my top 5. That's what I'm saying. Just because like he's the most dominant player the league has ever seen. You know what I'm saying? And played in like a real series era as well. And that's what I'm saying. Even Shaq may not even be there. I had to think about it, but I just know my top 3 is stamped, solidified, and that's just
I think what it is, you're just not comfortable with pre-90s basketball, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's not even that, because Larry Bird is in my top 5. I think Larry Bird was colder than Magic, and I think Larry Bird would be probably more of a star and probably get busy in the modern day era more than Magic. You know, I think
they all would, with all these hand checking rules and everyone.
Yeah, of course,
crying and shit.
They all would get busy to a certain degree, but it gets serious with Larry more so than Magic, I feel like. Because I always talk about like the way guards have, evolved and developed, for a talent perspective. That's what I'm saying. It both matter, but from a talent perspective, is Larry Bird? Is Magic Johnson a top 5 most talented guard of all time? Probably not. Is he a top 10? Maybe so. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's why I base things on both. See, I'm consistent. Like, I'm not just talking about the resume. I'm talking about both. That's what I'm saying. So that's why you base things on both. I look at all-time talent, look at all-time resume, then I look at both. So that's what I'm saying. Giannis gonna have to, like, the resume he's building, but like for that talent, skill set, like when it comes to like hitting key shots, being clutch, being the go-to guy, and the guy they can give the ball to and say, bring us home, take us there, take us to the promised land. And people would have loved and compared this the Shaq shit, but you can tell Shaq to take you home, because Shaq used to hit, we used to get fouled, he used to hit clutch free throws and all that type of stuff. So like, That's what I'm saying. A lot of things matter to me just more just resume only. So, but it is what it is. Well, maybe one of these days, maybe that'd be a special episode with me and you and give our top 10 of all time. But I've never done it before, and I'll tell you what,
Kareem will be in that 5.
I probably won't ever do it because like the criteria is, I always feel like I get set up for like slander. Because most people like rings only. If that's what you basing things off of. So I can't really.
There's a difference between saying rings only versus completely ignoring / taking rings so lightly. Like I'm not a rings only guy. I'm a rings first guy. I'm a rings first. If you
rings only,
you gotta have this amount of rings to be in this convo play. If you don't got that many rings, take a seat. That's how I am. That's what it really matters to.
But when this era and team factors on, because people can sit up and say, well, like, yo, if this player,
then maybe you just not like that,
or maybe you just didn't get blessed to the opportunity like some other people,
or maybe not everybody gets drafted like that.
Not everybody gets drafted to the Los Angeles Lakers. They have Kareem. Like not everybody gets drafted and they have this type of player. Like
now, if we talk about the top 10, if again once we reach 50 and 60, cool, we can. Okay, you don't have a ring. All right, whatever. You might be ahead of this person. Cool. And that top 10, come on now. This the varsity table. This the varsity table. You take all that little solo ring, non-ring shit over there. If you ain't got multiple rings, slide.
All the guys
come on now.
Multiple rings is 2. So all the guys that I'm talking about that can be in the top 5 all time can at least got 2. Even if I want to throw KD in there.
You got KD in top 5?
No, I do not. But like,
okay, then.
I do
so
not.
Don't say if I want to throw him in there. Do you have me in top 5?
No, I do not. But it's really hard for me. A lot of shit is hard for me because
everybody in the top 5 has at least 3 rings. Everybody.
It's hard for me. It's a lot of things is hard for me because I look at everything. I just don't look at.
You make it more challenging.
No, it's
than
not.
It has to be.
Like it's not 5 guys your eyes have seen that tell you is better than in the game of basketball than Kevin Durant. So that's why it's hard for me. Maybe there is for you, but for me, it's not. I haven't seen 5 guys in the game of basketball that I can really just say like I said, this argument is not just about talent, but like from a talent perspective, it's not 5 guys that are more talented in the history of this game than Kevin Durant. So if a person is basing their top 10 or top 5 strictly on talent only, like people base their top 5, top 10 based on rings or resume only, then Kevin Durant could be in people's top 5. And he's definitely my top 5. We just talk about pure talent.
But with that rule.
But that's why I do both, Theus. That's why I do both. Just to make that clear.
But with that rule, you're opening up a new box. You are opening up a completely different dialogue by saying, I can't name 5 guys that were better than Kevin Durant. That is not what we are talking about when you want to analyze it from a straight up skill and talent. It's more of a all time, giving everything that has happened, the eye test, the resume, the era, all that.
Well, make sure you say everything because everything that includes everything. Let's just include everything. Okay, that's fine. Everything. Rings
we talk about
rings may be at the
rubrics.
top. That's fine, but make sure you say everything. Yeah. My problem is not with you. My problem is the people that just talk about rings. Oh, Michael Jordan 6-0, Bill Russell's 11. Like, damn,
bro,
like
6-0 is crazy. I want you to know that.
No, that's crazy. That's crazy.
6-0 is nuts. No game 7s.
That's crazy.
Come on.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Having a 30-point average is crazy. Yeah.
But I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt too. 8 straight is also nasty. 8 straight times is crazy. That's going to be one of those statistics that I think people tend to just sleep on. 8 straight NBA Finals, regardless of the team, is nasty.
Averaging a triple-double in the finals is crazy. It's like certain things that like, yo, people doing this. Closing out a team with a 50-point performance is crazy. With Giannis, that's crazy. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a lot of stuff that's crazy. But like I said, I'm glad you said everything because I think people are gonna probably listen to this and they're gonna be thinking like, yo, they really like against like because I always
don't say they. They know what side I'm on.
But that's what I'm saying because you keep talking about rings, then you say everything 35, 40 minutes in a podcast.
I'm
just
saying
crystal clear. I'm talking about everything from the beginning. Just make that crystal clear.
I'm
I've been
saying
talking about everything from the beginning. But if I gotta be the
rubrics
villain, I'll
have
be the villain.
weight. Rubrics have weight. Okay? So if we're saying rings is 45%, talent 15%, era another 15%,
Stop
so on
it.
and so forth.
Don't throw
I'm
that
just
talent
throwing out
down there.
numbers. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
just in
I get it.
terms of there's certain things, right?
If it's a pyramid, rings at the top, but at the second layer, to me, that's skill set and talent and era.
Right. And yeah,
That's
you can throw a variety
me.
of things in there. Yeah, matchups, opponents. Yeah, that part,
That's-
cool. You can open
matters
a
to me.
debate. Resumes, yeah, for
That
sure.
matters to me.
And I don't knock that for the record, right? Like I said, I am, when we talk about the eye test, that matters. Because then you have to play the what if game, right? Like you're put in a position like, okay, we have to consider, would this person have really thrived if they were in this era or on this different team?
We can look, but we also, not all the time, when we look in the past, we have to do that, but we can look at like the eras that they're in. Like we can look at like Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, Michael Jordan, like not Michael Jordan, LeBron James, like Kawhi, like they all played in this dominant era and still playing in this dominant era. We can look at like LeBron. That's why I hate people talk about like, yo, like LeBron James wouldn't have been as great as in the physical dominant era, like the 90s. Well, damn, he played in the 2000s where it's just kind of like, yo, that was a physical dominant era. Like you had, like, what are we saying? Like he's played, LeBron James has probably played in like 3 eras since he's been in the NBA. I mean, he's old.
Greatness.
He's old. That's
Greatness.
probably right. But like greatness, he's played in the league has changed 3 times since LeBron James has been in the league. So that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes we have to look at the what if and do the eye test and base things off. If they play in this era, how would it be? But sometimes we can look at like today's game and we really can like dissect and like, yo, like, no, like it was LeBron James league, or no, it was like Kevin Durant and like Stephen Curry, like, yo, they was them dogs too. So, but not all eras are gonna be blessed like that though.
Of course,
So.
of course. And we had someone come on the pod and tell us that one of the greatest players on the planet right now wouldn't even start in that 90s era. So, hey, who knows? Who knows? I don't agree with that, but yeah, who knows? Let's see. We got a cap, no cap. First thing first, I want to wait until the end of this episode, but congratulations on your UNC boys for making it to the chip. Of course, obviously, as it's recording, we don't know what the hell they're going to do against Kansas. So, all right, what are they going to do?
We'll be recording, and I will be celebrating because the UNC Tar Heels are going to get it done.
I hope so. I'm watching that game like, wow.
We know one team that didn't get it done.
Oh,
it was had that boy Gito on the sideline in tears. Talking about he was talking about it is what it is. That brother was shook. Had him shook.
Man,
them girls are serious in South Carolina.
And that's really what it was. I was telling people too before the game. I wasn't too worried about Stanford, keep the stack. But like when I was like, we facing South Carolina, they got some dogs over there, bro. Like it's not just all right, they good. They got some dogs. They got
3 WNBA talents.
They are fierce. They look pissed off. Yeah. They look like they got something to prove. They look like when they come out there, it's not just to win the championship, it's to prove something to the world.
Prove something.
They look like, what I'm saying, it looked like they was mad at UConn. I'm like, damn.
Henderson Cookie, them girls, they got 3 girls that's gonna be in the WA, man. And it's crazy, like their defense, bro. They had like everybody. It's crazy because like
I think they got out rebounded 49-24, and I'm everybody. Like, first of all,
6'1", 6'2". Everybody on that team was 6'1" under, except they big girl in the middle. But like, bro, and they all guarded everything. all guarded 1 through 5. Yo, it was scary.
That was,
it was spooky.
Yeah, it got nasty quickly. But the thing is, too, we got off to a rough. It was a rough first quarter. Anytime you get down 22-8 in any game, let alone national championship, that's tough to battle back, especially against a well-coached team like South Carolina. Shout out to Dawn Staley. But yeah, it was a rough one. Man. I feel bad for Paige, making it this far and then, losing in the chip. It's like
she got 2 more years.
So
get it done.
We got high expectations in stores, bro.
Get it done.
What I'm saying? I ain't gonna put the expectations on her because she's still in school and stuff like that. But trust, as you said, get it done. I'm rooting for the chip.
It's UConn. And it's certain
facts.
things. I know college basketball is a little different, especially in the women's game where we know we had the same eras. UConn, before that Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? Like We didn't now South Carolina. Look at the next era. South Carolina may be like, yo, Serious.
And I think too though, like just in previous teams when we talk about UConn, they've always had some sort of balance or like some other person that was like, yo,
that is true.
It's not just this one. This year it was like, yo, Paige is really like that. But
Paige
then
really,
like Paige had to be the leader. Paige had to, what I'm saying? Again, shout out to the whole team. Like you don't get that far with having some sort of balance. But at the same time, you knew, if Paige wasn't having a great game, all right, it's clear. But before, there's been years where it's like, yo,
no, sure,
we got we good regardless. Top to bottom.
They need some hope. She needs some hope. Yeah.
But yeah, man, hopefully we see a good game. UNC Kansas. I don't got no parlays on this game, but I hope we just see a pretty good matchup. But yeah. Yeah. So a couple housekeeping items, of course, blessed with the 5-star rating, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Shout out to all the lovely people that listen on Facebook. Of course, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. All right, and just like that, we gone. You got anything else? I take that as a no. I'm gonna take silence as a no. Just like that. All right, we gone. Peace.
It's your boy, M.I.K. Smith, also known as A-Kiss. Make sure you guys go follow No Pump Fakes wherever you get your podcasts.